Cardinal baseball today is brought to you by Busch Beer. Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light. By Dobbs, St. Louis's #1 choice for tires and auto service. By Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealer today. By Steak and Shake. Real steak burgers and hand-dipped real milk milkshakes 24 hours a day. By Toyota. Visit your St. Louis area Toyota dealers. And by American Furniture and Electronics, St. Louis's headquarters for HD TV. That lady is writing down the lineups, just like we do, to prepare for the game. But the one thing that woman does not have that we do. Yes, he's playing shortstop today. She doesn't have Rick's picks, and you do.
No, she's using pen there, too. She's pretty confident in her abilities. Here's my picks for the day. First of all, we're going to have quick workers today in both Morris and Chris Carpenter. We could have a very quick game. My favorite matchup is going to be Chris Duncan, who's having an outstanding year. I'd like to see what he does with that high Matt Morris fastball. And the other question that's been kind of out there on the table is who closes today. Will it be Wainwright or Looper?
Be anxious to see, because at least on paper, you look at these two pitchers, Matt Morris and Chris Carpenter, they'll bring their best today. You have a sneaking suspicion it won't be anything like the 14-4 drubbing last night. The lineup for San Francisco today, facing Chris Carpenter, we'll have Steve Finley, the ageless one. Well, wait a minute. We can say that about a bunch of these San Francisco Giants. You've got Omar Vizquel, Shea Hillenbrand, Barry Bonds, Ray Durham. He's had a great year. Moises Alou, Pedro Feliz. Alfonso and Morris are going to be the battery today. And on the mound is Chris Carpenter to oppose his good friend Matt Morris. And part of our Dobbs pitching matchup today. 14-6 is the record. 2.84 is the ERA, but there's so much more to be said than just statistics.
How about the other statistic of the home ERA as we look at his inning pitched and strikeout walk ratio, just outstanding. But 1.47 at home, that rivals the Gibson era. It rivals John Tudor's year in 1985 with ERAs in the 1.4s at home. Outstanding.
Defensively behind Carpenter, brought to you by your Mid-America Chevy dealers. Spezio with that bat in the lineup against Matt Morris, playing left. Duncan in right. 2 home runs last night. Encarnacion sandwiched in between. Roland Miles, Belliard, Pujols with Molina behind the plate. We're ready for our first pitch, and it's brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. We're underway with a strike at the knees. When I said ageless, when I meant it. 41 years of age is Steve Finley. Bonds is 42. Omar Vizquel is 39. And Moises Alou is 40. Certainly the oldest team that we can think of, but all extremely talented. And Finley, no exception to that rule. And one of the things, Rick, we got to look at today, previous matchups. Finley is 4 for 7 lifetime against Carpenter with a home run. That's about as good as anybody can be against him.
You also wonder whether that happened to be a day where Carpenter just had a bad day. You know, to me, I think we sometimes make too much of that, Wayne. I think unless you've had 25 at-bats against somebody, it's almost irrelevant.
And I would agree with that, except for one guy, Tony Clark of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, well, that's because he got 25 at-bats worth of hits in just 8 against Jorge Sosa is what you're talking about. Unbelievable numbers. We won't have to see that again for a while.
Up and in. That evens a count of 2-2.
What I love about Chris Carpenter, and we're seeing it already, is he has such a live arm that he throws a 93 that's unlike other people's 93 in terms of velocity, because it just jumps and it darts and it moves and it seems to explode out of his hand.
There's his breaking ball. That's popped up. Playable for Pujols, backpedaling in foul territory, and there's one out. Good guy to keep off the bases in Finley. Carpenter was absolutely fantastic in that start. A shutout against the Houston Astros. The final was 7-0, and the numbers speak for themselves in that game against a very tough opponent.
What you don't see in the numbers is the importance of that game against the Astros. The Astros have been hanging around, but I think his game really deflated that ball club.
A base hit the opposite way for Vizquel, who's going to scamper towards second and will make it there with a double. So he shot it past the drawn in Scott Rowland at third, and Vizquel to go along with those numbers that you were talking about, well, he doesn't have 25 at bats, but he does have 23. Came in hitting .455 lifetime against Chris Carpenter. And those at bats, of course, for the most part, as Spezio gets it back in the American League, where they both played for so long. Shea Hillenbrand, the former Toronto Blue Jay, will step in. He's played 50 games with San Francisco. And he hits ahead of Bonds. A strike. Was having a much better time of it in Toronto, but didn't get along with his manager there. And ends up with San Francisco. And they're happy to have him. Playing first base today. That'll keep the runner at second base. Pretty amazing play. Vizquel should have gone to third in my estimation on that particular play, but he didn't, and it's a 6-3 put out, and once again Miles showing great range.
And range is the thing that is the most kind of amazing thing about Miles. You never go back to the bag, by the way, on the ball hit behind you. If it's behind you, you take off. Vizquel makes a base running mistake right there, but what Miles has impressed me with most is that range. The arm, you know you're not going to have a Sean Dunston arm, but that's been more than adequate. But that range has been, I'd say, very good.
Barry Bonds going up against Chris Carpenter. The shift has the second baseman Belliard playing in shallow right. There, you actually see Pujols with his heels in the outfield grass deep at first as a strike is called. And not on the first base side is Miles, but he's about as close as a shortstop can be. Look how deep they're playing.
Almost like having three right fielders.
24 home runs for Bonds. More importantly, 732.
That's the way kids used to play in the neighborhood when the big kid came up. You just stick them all out down the line because you know he's going to pull the ball. You know he's going to hit with power, so you put all the kids out in right field.
Carpenter low and in, 1 ball, 1 strike. It's almost like over the line if you didn't have enough players.
I'm sure when Barry Bonds was a kid, I'm sure all the kids played him just like that.
Carpenter does have first base open. He's got a hot-hitting Ray Durham out on deck. There's a strike to make it 1-2. Bonds at age 42, the all-time home run king from the left side, and the all-time San Francisco Giant home run hitter, and dating back to the New York days as well. 556 he has hit in a Giants uniform. Didn't go after that off-speed pitch.
Well, we can say what we want to say about Barry Bonds and all of the controversies surrounding him and his career, much of the problems he's brought on himself for a lot of reasons, but he is one of a small group that would be labeled as the best players that have ever played the game of baseball. And that's a lot of years this game has survived. His talent is extraordinary.
Almost hit him in the kneecaps. 3 balls and 2 strikes as Carpenter continues to bust him inside.
Tried to have that fastball cut back over the inside corner. At least it served the purpose of keeping him a little loose in that batter's box. I like that.
And he didn't get the call, and Bonds walks, but that's not a problem for Chris Carpenter. You know, he'll go after Ray Durham. Now, Durham drove in a run in the first inning of last night's game. Let's see. Well, you got to move the hand so we can see how you keep score.
But
mine, I put a line to first and a walk. They got the line there, but no W.
Looks like hieroglyphics right there. What is that? Got to get the Rosetta Stone, I think, to translate that.
Well, he's having trouble controlling that breaking pitch at the outset. Is Chris Carpenter. Durham hitting .299, 23 home runs, and 87 driven in. When they have walked Bonds ahead of him, since late June, this guy's hitting .438. So he's answered some challenges when this happens. So keep your eyes on him. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Durham's always been a good fastball hitter and a good power hitter for an infielder. You just don't think of him because of his size as a guy with power, but he does have very good power. The 23 homers, 87 RBIs. That's outfielder numbers.
Felipe Alou, the manager, taking in the game from the third base dugout. There's the curveball that he finally got over where he wanted. A backdoor curve. 1-2. Durham, who came up originally with the White Sox.
That's how good Carpenter is right there. He makes a guy swing and fall down at the same time on that little cutter down and in.
Two on, 2 out. We're in the first inning. Carpenter gets a fastball over for a called strike 3 to Durham. So he leaves 2 aboard. Cardinal offense going up against Matt Morris when we come back. Cardinals lineup today with Aaron Miles having scored 2 runs last night. Chris Duncan, who hit 2 home runs last night, as did Scott Rowland, driving in a career best 7. Well, that's your lineup today against Matt Morris. And Morris with a 10-13 record. Dobbs pitching matchup. St. Louis's #1 choice for tires and auto service.
Morris' problem of late has been getting behind in the count too often and having to kind of struggle through getting that pitch when you're behind in the count is tough for any pitcher. But Matt Morris still is a versatile guy. He's made 30 starts. He's answering the call every 5th day, and ERA not too bad considering the way ERAs are these days at 4.7.
The bearded one. A strike to Aaron Miles, hitting .262.
The slightly gray bearded one, I might add.
There's that patented curveball, but it broke too high. Cardinals, a team that has beaten San Francisco 3 of the 4 previous meetings this year, as that one sidewinds outside. 2 out of 3 in San Francisco in late May, and one of those came at the expense of Matt Morris, who gave up 6 runs in that game. Albert Pujols hit a 3-run blast against him. Fastball evens the count at 2-2. That velocity wasn't very high at 86 miles an hour. We're told his velocity has gone down. His 2nd career start against the Cardinals.
We should mention that this is a game that has great import for both teams. The Giants are struggling to maintain a presence in the wild card race, and the Cardinals have a couple of reasons for wanting to have a better record than the National League West team.
Good start to this one for Miles, ticketed for extra bases. He might get 3 out of this deal, and he will. His 4th triple of the year.
Miles takes a curveball down and in from Matt Morris. We've seen that curveball so many times, and he just catches it right, picks up the coach rounding 2nd, and motors into 3rd with a triple.
Now the ever dangerous Chris Duncan. Great off-speed pitch. He was sitting on a fastball. Homered twice last night. He's hit 15 of his 18 home runs since the All-Star break.
This is the matchup that I like. Moore's probably going to throw him as many curveballs as possible.
And a drive down the right field line, and it is hooking foul at home run distance. Matt Morris, a 2-time All-Star. Just didn't miss by a whole lot.
About 4 seats.
And infield playing back, they'll surrender the run, which says an awful lot. because of Chris Carpenter on the mound. And the Giants offense next to last in the league. And he got him with a fastball looking. That worked out very well for Matt Morris.
Hard to see why Chris Duncan not able to pull the trigger on that. That didn't quite have the movement that Carpenter's had coming back over the inside corner. I'm not sure if Duncan might have been guessing off speed there, and he got the fastball and just couldn't pull the trigger.
Albert Pujols has had another phenomenal season, but this is what he relishes, the opportunity to give his team the lead. 23 game-winning RBIs already this season, and a fastball strike at the knees. For those who are interested in this constant battle between Ryan Howard and Albert Pujols and who's going to win the MVP, interesting statistic: birth date. Does anybody realize that Ryan Howard is actually 2 months older than Albert Pujols? 2 months. Albert's accomplished a lot, hasn't he?
I would not have guessed that. And so is Ryan Howard. You got to give him credit for the year he's having. He has really almost single-handedly got the Phillies back in that race and kept Charlie Manuel's job for him, I think. I think he was on his way out at one point in the season when they were underachieving, and Howard's just been lighting up that scoreboard.
Miles less than 90 feet away from the promised land. Breaking ball low, and it's 3-1. Matt Morris, 9 years with the Cardinals, 115 starts. That'll get the run home on a base hit through the wickets for both of those defenders. One reaching to his left, the other one to his right. And Pujols has 123 RBIs. 1-0 Redbirds.
Well, Miles is probably going to go on contact here on any ball hit in the infield, and he does. And even if the third baseman is able to knock that down, Miles is going to score, but he kind of olays it. Pedro Feliz, and not a great defensive effort on his part. I'm not sure it could have stopped the RBI anyway.
Spezio, you expect to be swinging today, and here we are on the 16th of September, and we're talking about Spezio batting 4th in the lineup.
Spezio and Miles, both surprises for me personally.
Great surprises at that. Spezio's just been incredible. 30 of his 46 RBIs have come with 2 outs, so you know a lot of his hits have been clutch. Cardinals leading 1-0. Keep an eye on Pujols over there at first base. That'll get him to commit. It's 1-2. You know one thing, Matt Morris doesn't want to be facing Scott Rowland with 2 people on base. He's going to go right after Scott Spezio, ahead in the count. Rowland had a day off, came back so very strong last night. 7 runs driven in. Balls and 2 strikes. He's running to 3-2. Throwing a lot of pitches early. Pujols, who in spring training, not just this past year, but every year, talks to Lou Brock about stealing bases, being ever the aggressor on the base paths. We figure he'll be going here. He is, and the pitch is high and away, and now Scott Rowland will come to the plate with 2 runners aboard. Giants defensively, brought to you by your Mid-America Chevy dealers. Bonds, Finley, and Alou. In their own right, they've all had great careers, but my goodness, they've got a lot of ground to cover at this ballpark. Alfonso behind the plate. Vizquel, a 10-time Gold Glover at shortstop. Only one shortstop has had more Gold Gloves collected, and that would be Mr. Ozzie Smith. Rolling with that home run in his first at bat last night. Came back to hit another one against Jamie Wright later in the game. He also had a bases loaded double at the base of the fence in right center. Big numbers last night, and because of it, 11 away from 100 RBIs. Foul ball. He gets 100 RBIs. I don't know how you can deny him comeback player of the year.
We've been saying I'm not sure that's an award everybody really wants to win.
I would if I'd had surgery. And he's one of the very few who has had an injury and surgery and then came back. You're right.
But I think that's an award. I think that's an award that has, unfortunately, or fortunately, it doesn't really matter, very little prestige among the players. They could care less about that award. Scott Rowland's award is the fact that he's playing every day, he's healthy, he's contributing, he's making a difference on his team. He doesn't have to sit there and watch his teammates play day after day. He already has his reward. He does not need a trophy that says comeback player of the year to validate that.
Remember a couple years ago, Chris Carpenter won that award on his way to 15 victories. Boy, he just got a piece of that one.
I think that's the award when they're having the presentation. You say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I got to do laundry. I'm just, you know,
I get a watch?
I'll send somebody there to get it for me, and thank you. Mail it to me."
Spezio and Pujols are the runners at first and second. 1-0 in favor of the Cardinals. He smoked that one foul. Rowland talked about it last night after the game, that he felt he saw the ball so well. It was refreshing to get that day off on Thursday. We'll chase after that one. Days off, well, there aren't a lot of them in September. That's the only one that the Cardinals have had, and he took advantage of it.
Something about the importance of rest. It isn't just for your body. I think there is something about the vision part as well. I mean, just to actually get a little more rest than you normally do. That ball, it's not just seeing the ball, it's seeing the spin on it, location.
Big chopper to Vizquel, the magician, bare hands, and got him. What a play by Vizquel. Pujols does go to third base. Spezio takes second, and some applause for a very nice play by Omar Vizquel.
Wow, was this artfully done by Vizquel? Rowland runs well enough that you cannot just lay back on this. The only way to make this play is barehanded and on the move. It's like he's actually ready to throw the ball as he's barehanding it. I guess that's why he does get those Gold Gloves year after year.
Great defensive play brought to you in the first inning by Steak and Shake. That was a great play. Encarnacion bending back out of what he thought was harm's way. That one caught the outside corner. Those are the numbers for Juan. 285 average, 18 homers, 75 driven in. Bends back again from that curve.
Well, after watching Juan Encarnacion for 147 games, my conclusion on him is he's a guy that can put up some great numbers and have some really, really ugly at-bats to go along with that. He is amazing. He can look so bad. I mean, so bad. And then you look up at the end of the day and he's got a couple of doubles, an RBI, a run scored. He contributes.
Got a major opportunity here to break this game open early. And he took the fastball for a strike. Thought it was high, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ed Rapuano is the home plate umpire. Rapuano not enjoying being shown up by the hitter, apparently. If it's close, Encarnacion better be swinging. Did he hold up? The first base umpire, Tony Randazzo, said, I didn't see a swing over here. I can't believe they didn't ring him up on that one.
You saying there's some spite that sometimes happens? Is that what you're saying?
Uh-huh. Yes, sir, I did. I did say that. Jammed him a little bit. Phillies in the 9th inning, leading 7-2 at Houston. Game that you talked about. The Phillies having to win as they are involved in the wild card race. San Diego leading by a game and a half over the Phillies. That one's drilled to deep left field, and adios to that one. 3-run blast by Encarnacion. And the Cardinals have picked up where they left off last night. 4-0.
Well, Encarnacion compresses both the potential ugly at-bat and the impactful at-bat in the same inning here, as he has a bad swing early on, but he catches up to a hanger from Matt Morris. A little bit off his front foot, but still generates enough power. He is a dangerous hitter. May not have the prettiest swing in all of baseball, but he's a dangerous hitter. 19 home runs. No doubt about that one.
And swinging and popping this one up his belly yard into left for Barry Bonds, and he'll one-hand it for the out. But the trials and tribulations of Matt Morris continue. He surrendered a home run and a triple in a 4-run first inning for St. Louis. Juan Encarnacion's 19th home run of the year. The Cardinals jump out fast, 4-0 in a big game for Chris Carpenter to try to keep this team winning, and a huge game for San Francisco trying to stay in the race in both the National League West and certainly the wild card. And the big time pitchers step up big in games like this. Carpenter has been down this road on several occasions and come up big. Morris has struggled. And he struggled here in the first inning.
Well, it's good news early on. Anytime you can get Chris Carpenter a 4-run lead, you've got to feel good about that. You think, what's the chances of him coughing it up? I'm not saying he can't, but wow, a lot of confidence in the Cardinal dugout right now.
And he is moving these folks off the plate, is Chris Carpenter. Felipe, a great player, came up with San Francisco, went to the Atlanta Braves, played with Hank Aaron. Moises, who came into the season a .301 hitter and has gone over 300 home runs in his career, so he has done a very fine job, and he's always been a clutch hitter. And he is walked.
Curveballs are a big pitch in this game, as Chris Carpenter will look at his grip. He's got that ball going downward motion, 12-6. Fingers come in front of the ball, and that's a strike. Nasty short curveball. Matt Morris, same grip. Fingers in front of the ball, pulling it down. He's got a little bigger curveball, also 12-6. Good pitches for both pitchers. There it is.
And speaking of curveballs, Pedro Feliz at the plate. And most Carpenter didn't get that call.
Excuse me, Wayne. Most people don't know that curveball, your fingers actually get in front of the ball and you pull down the front of the ball. A lot of people like to think that you twist your wrist to throw a curveball, but you don't, and that actually leads to a lot of elbow injuries.
In the hole, a base hit. So the Giants come back with runners at first and second. That leadoff walk to Alou, and it's the bottom part of the order now.
This is close to actually being a double play, but Feliz finds a hole. Nice swing, nice extension. Got some pretty good numbers on the year with those 92 RBIs.
Eliezer Alfonso is the hitter. Number 8 hitter coming up with a .272 average. He's belted 11 home runs. Giants embarking on what is a 10-game road trip, and it is do or die for them. They go from here, head back west slightly to Colorado, and then come back here and pass us and go a little north to Milwaukee before they head back to San Francisco. They did not have Jason Schmidt available with the back problems to start last night's game, and that was a big game for San Francisco. Dandy curveball there. 0-2. Three pitches, and Alfonso is out of there as fast as you can blink your eye 3 times.
This is a dominant at bat for Chris Carpenter, working off the first base side of the rubber, throwing that sinker down and in. A lot of life to it. Good spot for that pitch. Tied him up, blew him away.
Not going to say much here. We're going to let the video take care of it and the audio. There's a nice standing ovation for Matt Morris. 2 great friends. And he doffs his helmet to the crowd. Let's just watch this at bat. 2 friends facing off. The ovation lasted longer than the at-bat. But a sacrifice bunt.
That was great to see, wasn't it? Matt very appreciative, I'm sure. Stung by that 4-run first inning that he just endured, but still appreciating what the Cardinal fans did for him during that at-bat.
Well, Steve Klein, who is also here, a former Cardinal, was talking about the fans again today. He remembers how special it was for him and his relationship with the fans. And he wondered how they were going to react to his friend and teammate, Matt Morris. Very nice touch by you St. Louis Cardinal fans. Now Carpenter has to get Finley. Right into the ground. Fouled out to the first baseman, his first time up.
Not typical Steve Finley numbers. Power numbers or average. He's had a phenomenal career, but he's kind of on that downswing, but he's still dangerous.
10 triples this year. And something that you've always appreciated about him, no errors.
Yeah.
And he's had to play an awful lot of territory, not only at AT&T Ballpark in San Francisco, but for those who flank him to his right and to his left with Bonds and Moises Alou. And he's the second oldest of that trio. He's 41 years old. He's taking great care of himself. Remember the starting time of this game, just a little after 3 o'clock locally. The shadows will be a part of the scenario here before too long. Still think one of the toughest things is when a team is playing. You normally see it most in postseason play in October when they have to start on the West Coast at 5 o'clock local time. It is tough. Dodger Stadium, ooh, brutally tough to see. Tomahawk that one foul. Cardinals leading 4-0. An RBI single by Albert Pujols. 3-run home run by Juan Encarnacion. Giants threatening against Carpenter here in the second. Threat dismissed. Great curveball to get Finley. He has struck out each of the last guys in the first 2 innings, leaving 2 men aboard on both occasions. That strikeout, one of his major weapons indeed. Chris Carpenter has a shutout brewing here in the second inning, bottom half. Matt Morris surrendering the 4 runs to the Cardinals in the bottom half of the first. Goes to work on Yadier Molina. Right to the shortstop. Boy, Vizquel is the top fielding shortstop of the National League, and another beauty.
Wayne, the 2006 Post-Dispatch St. Louis Cardinals pin collection is now available as a complete set for just $74.99. Log on to www.cardinalspincollection.com, or if you prefer, cardinalspincollection.com. I guess that'd be the same thing. Or call 877-758-5245 and place your order today.
Chris Carpenter against Matt Morris. A strike. Carpenter hitting 129. Cardinals magic number 11 at the start of play today. And trying to go to postseason play for the 6th time in the last 7 years. If you were with the Cardinals the last couple of years, if you saw Chris Carpenter, you saw Matt Morris. If you saw Matt Morris, you saw Chris Carpenter, no matter where they went. Police will throw out Carpenter, and there are 2 outs. Inseparable.
Of course, we will have an interactive question of the game today, and that's brought to you again by First Bank. Ask a question about today's game on WB11TV.com. And if we pick your question during the 5th inning, you'll receive a $50 First Bank check card. First Bank makes someday today with a home equity loan.
Aaron Miles started the game for the Cardinals with a triple and would score on the Albert Pujols single. So he's already scored 3 runs in this series. Exactly what you would love to see from your leadoff man. David Eckstein took some batting practice today. Rick, the swinging of the bat doesn't bother him. The fielding doesn't bother him, but the throws still somewhat bothersome to David Eckstein. Played first base by Hillenbrand. Did he beat Morris? No, Morris beat him by an eyelash. More on David Eckstein. There is some good news on that front. So is the 4-0 Cardinal lead early in this one. Cardinals leading 4-0 behind Chris Carpenter. Omar Vizquel leads it off here. He had to double his first time up. Takes that strike, bluffing a bunt. Tell you what, this guy may be 39 years of age, but he is a great magician with that baseball. Long run for Encarnacion. He'll get there, and then he leaves his feet. He didn't have to dive, but he just wanted to make sure. So there's 1 out.
Encarnacion having a good afternoon so far. He has a 3-run home run and now a nice play defensively. Maybe doesn't have to dive, but as you say, trying to make sure of it. Now the problem is you're making sure of it, but you also have to hit the ground, and that's where you can lose the baseball. But he lands softly enough and has good enough hands. Checking the sunglasses as the shadow's getting very close to home plate now in this afternoon start, and it's going to be very tough to hit Chris Carpenter in about 25 minutes.
What does a hitter try to do?
Well, you try to see you have to concentrate on the ball anyway. That's your job as a hitter. But the ball is going to come from the sun into the shade, and you lose it right at the point of impact. And so that's where you get a lot of strikeouts start piling up, and that may happen for both pitchers. Cardinals with a 4-run lead here probably don't mind that.
Hillenbrand pokes it off the end of the bat to Mr. Pujols, and there's the 2nd out. What's on tap brought to you by Bud Light. Refreshingly smooth Bud Light, always worth it. We'll have the finale of this 3-game set tomorrow. Barry Bonds and company at 1 o'clock, and it will be in high definition. And the Giants will be going with a rookie in that particular game, Jonathan Sanchez, against right-hander Jeff Weaver. This man needs no introduction. You know who's at the plate. Barry Bonds.
We got a great email from a fan who took the took the time to figure out that over Barry Bonds' career, he's hit 55.5 miles worth of home runs. Now, we appreciate that fan doing that.
Carpenter ahead 0-2. Ran that one away. David Eckstein may indeed play early next week. Jim Edmonds should take a look at the signs. Took batting practice today, and he could play next week. Those are in his words. Bond stays alive.
I said earlier we had 3 right fielders. We really have 4 right fielders. 3 playing shallow right. 1, 2, 3, and 1 playing deep.
And it's going to work. A ground ball on the grass and thrown out at first base by Ronnie Belliard is Barry Bonds. Still looks strange even though you anticipate it. Barry Bonds just grounded out. I guess we can write it down as 4-3 in the scorecard, but it looked different than that.
Sure looked like 9-3, and probably off the bat he's got to feel like this is a base hit. I mean, this is what you're supposed to do. Hit a hard ground ball past the first baseman. Why is somebody standing right there? Ronnie Belliard playing short right field, and all it is a 4-3 in the book.
The curtain falls on the WB network come Monday, so as a final goodbye, you could watch the pilot episodes of their most popular shows. Don't miss the initial episodes of Angel, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Dawson's Creek. It all begins Sunday at 5 on the home of the new CW11. Remember they put on that shift for Ted Williams for many years. They're going to start doing that to Duncan, who is out as the play goes 3-1. And here comes Albert Pujols again to face Matt Morris.
Think about Morris's runs in the first inning there. The big blow, the Encarnacion home run, Albert with the base hit RBI. But that's the Matt Morris we remember, having rough first innings. This year we've talked about Marquis in that vein, but in the past Matt Morris was that kind of pitcher who could have just a horrible first inning and then settle down and mow him down the rest of the way.
A strike to Pujols. Morris lost 10-2, giving up 6 runs in 5+ innings his last time out last Sunday against San Diego. Today's National League leaderboard brought to you by Dairy Queen. They don't strike out much, these two teams. They put it in play. That one's foul. RBI single for Albert his first time up.
A little surprising to think about the Cardinals as being that low in strikeouts because they've got Preston Wilson. Now, they haven't had him all year, but Encarnacion's a strikeout guy. Jim Edmonds is. You got guys strike out a lot.
And that one off the end of the bat and dunks in. So Pujols 2 for 2.
That's 3 straight hits for Albert Pujols, and none of them has he hit very well. He had a base hit in the last game. His last at bat on a bloop single to center. Had just a little ground ball and out in front of this one, but good hitters find holes. Location down and away. Serves it into center field like second serve in a game of tennis.
And Matt Morris loves to play tennis. His wife Heather is here in St. Louis. Make their home in Jupiter.
How about the shadows? I'm losing the ball right about 2 feet in front of home plate. Albert somehow still manages to see that ball. That's what the hitters are dealing with here. So late movement matters. If that ball moves in that last 2 feet, you're going to get some strikeouts. That's the kind of pitcher Chris Carpenter is. Late movement guy. By late movement, right about where that shadow starts, is where you want the ball to break sharply. Wow, that's tough. Game's tough enough.
Good fastball there. Let's pause for stations to identify themselves. This is KPLR TV, KPLR DT, St. Louis. Spezio walked. Back in inning number 1. Cardinals erupted for 4 first inning runs. They lead it 4-0, batting in the bottom of the 3rd. That hit him. And that'll put runners at first and second for Scott Rowland. Morris, his last win as a Cardinal came in that division series against San Diego. Remember, the Cardinals struck early in that one, gave him 7 early runs, and he coasted to the victory, although the Padres did come back a little bit later in that game. And the Cardinals did get the sweep, went on to meet Houston. Matt Morris has now won a game in the regular season of September and including October, when it overlaps in the first couple of days of October. He has not won a game in September or October since 2004. 0-8 in those 2 months since his last win.
Boy, that's interesting. You wonder whether he's just not a cold weather pitcher as the weather starts to change. We have a beautiful day here today, or is it that the number of innings that he logs over the course of a year just start to catch up with him?
I have to believe it's the latter in particular because of the surgeries that he's had. That's fouled out of play. I just found that a strange little bit of information on Matt Morris. Hails from Middletown, New York, going against the Indiana kid. Spezio and Pujols. Matt Morris had a 1-2-3 second inning. Having some problems here with 1 out. Boy, Rowland almost went through. 3 balls and a strike. Playing him 2-pull. Give big gap, I think, most prominent in right center. Foul ball. Boy, he's driven a couple against Morris. Deep but foul. The first 2 at bats. Slow freight. Good play by the third baseman Police, and for the second time in this game, Scott Rowland is robbed of a hit on a good play by a defender. First it was Vizquel with a barehanded effort in the first inning, and now the third baseman Police with a diving stop. 2 outs. And in many ways, we use this Commerce Bank save during the telecast that we bring you, but that truly was a save.
It saves a run, and it makes Rowland's day a little less joyful, as that's 2 hits he could have had, and the Giants electing not to pitch to Encarnacion. Last time he hit with 2 outs and 2 runners aboard. He hit his 19th home run of the season, and they're going to make Ronnie Belliard beat him this time.
And he'll be batting with the bases loaded. Has hit 1 home run as a Cardinal. Ron Wotus is the bench coach for the Giants. You saw Felipe Alou getting up, a little uncomfortable. He's going to go talk to Dave Righetti with his sunglasses to your right. Longtime starter and reliever. Author of a no-hitter for the Yankees against the Red Sox back in the early 80s on the 4th of July. And boy, he went from closer to starter. Was a good one. He's an excellent pitching coach who wants to be a manager someday. Belliard. That was a bit of a hanger, and Morris has him at 0-2. Albert Pujols at third base. Spezio, batting gloves in each hand, and still wearing the batting gloves. Encarnacion at first. To Finley. He doesn't make many mistakes, and he catches that one. So Morris pitches out of a bases-loaded jam. 4-0 Cardinals through 3. And the man. The batter's eye has a problem. Well, the home plate umpire letting Cowboy Joe West, the crew chief, know about it. They're going to hold up time for a moment because the hitter Ray Durham was complaining about that backdrop, and especially for a left-handed batter, he sees it more than a righty at this point.
So Ray Durham's saying, hey, you're making me hit against the Cy Young Award winner, and I'm hitting in the shadows. Now the hitting background isn't right. Come on.
Now that's from a different angle for you. There's the shadows.
Maybe he's complaining because Carpenter's pitching. Get him out of there. Fix the backstop.
Ed Rappiano says, you know what, Ray, I can't help you with that.
I wonder what jersey number and hat number Carpenter's working on. Not real hot today at the ballpark. He's a guy that's been known to change his jersey quite a bit.
4 or 5 times in the middle of July or August. And what he has done here, gone ahead of Durham, 1-2. He disposed of him by way of a strikeout. His first time up. 1 of 3 strikeouts he has. He's got another. There's 4 and counting. Transactions of the week brought to you by Blumenfeld, Kaplan, and Sandweiss, the business community source for legal expertise. Pedro Martinez came off that disabled list but didn't pitch very well. Matt Stairs acquired by Detroit, and they pounded their opposition yesterday in a big win. And David Eckstein is back on the active list and perhaps starting next week. We'll see.
It'd be great to see him out there playing every day. Had a chance to see him on the Cardinals off day. There was a promotion out here at the ballpark, and David kind of had to break up the commotion because he wanted to take some ground balls.
Line drive, but right at Belliard. It gives you a pretty good indication that ball was on him in a hurry.
So David tells everybody he needs to take some swing, take some ground balls at short. About 10 minutes of that. Barry Weinberg watching him. And the fans who were here at the game actually got to shag for him while he hit, and he looked good. And then he came over and he thanked all the people. He said, well, I really appreciate you letting me come in while you were having your event. Hey, it's his field. But he really was just so gracious with the folks that were here for that promotion. I just really appreciate him.
I'll say this for the Giants. Their first ball swinging today. Elise at the plate with 2 outs. You saw our scoreboard brought to you by Waterway, and the Phillies have beaten the Houston Astros for the 2nd straight day. 7-2 your final. That's the only final in the National League. Elise commits early. 0-2.
Got a great email from Scott from Leroy, Illinois, who tells me that his first home run today. He's so excited. He just wanted us to know he doesn't want anything. And by the way, they won the game as well. How about that? Swing and a miss and a strikeout of Feliz. Well, he wasn't facing Carpenter. 4-0 St. Louis. That was a Jayhawk. Young man wearing a KU cap here at the ballpark, taking in the Cardinals of the Giants. 4-0 in favor of the hometown 9. Yadier Molina bounced to short his first time against Matt Morris. That makes the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Cubs in the 5th inning are leading Cincinnati 2-0. Everything else will start later. Padres lost that game against the Dodgers, the first of their 4-game series. So the Dodgers in the National League Western Division have a 1.5 lead on San Diego, but the Padres still lead in the wild card by a 1.5 at the start of play today. But the Phillies, the 2nd place team in the wild card, Phillies did win. Drilled to left, but Bonds will make the catch. A little snatch catch out there in left. I wonder if he's ever tried to make that catch and the ball completely eludes the glove and hits him in the body. probably happened once or twice.
That one would have hurt.
Well, you know, you think about Barry Bonds. We obviously talk home runs first, batting average second. But when he was younger, very good base runner. And according to Andy Van Slyke, my favorite center fielder of all time, although Willie McGee's on that list, too. That's a tough one. But Andy said that Barry Bonds was the best left fielder he ever played with, defensively.
He has already said he's going to have some surgery on his elbow when the season's over, some bone chips. He's had numerous knee surgeries. That's why he got off to such a late start to this season. And yet Bonds is still homered 24 times. And the next home run he hits will tie him with Hank Aaron for the most ever in the National League. Because remember, Hammer and Hank hit 733 in the National League. And hit the rest of them, total of 755, as a Milwaukee Brewer and a designated hitter. Carpenter pops it up on the left side. Vizquel. No sunglasses, Vizquel out there.
We've been talking about this game being important for the Giants. The National League wild card standings show the Padres ahead, the Phillies just a game out, Marlins and Giants 2.5. So it's very close. The Giants have had a good second half. The Reds hanging in there along with the Astros. Now for the Cardinals, if the Phillies or the Marlins are the wild card winners, that would mean that the Cardinals better have a better record than the National League West team. Otherwise, they have to play the Mets. That's number one. And number two, you want to have a better record than the National League West team, so you have the home field advantage in the playoffs. So the Cardinals games, they all mean a lot to them.
Miles going the opposite way, and that's going to get down and past Finley.
3.
And Miles already has a triple. Aaron Miles has another. Still one of the prettiest plays in baseball.
Spoken by somebody who is an outfielder and not a pitcher.
Indeed.
But triples are exciting because you get to see everybody moving. You get to see the outfielders trying to hit cutoff men. You've got people defensively trying to shut it down, but you've got a guy just having to air it out home to third. That's a long run, and it's an exciting run. Nobody did it better than Willie McGee. That's a man working hard right there.
And the Cardinals don't want to take this opportunity and let it go by the boards either. They had the bases loaded in the third inning and did not score. A 2-out triple by Miles, and Morris works out of the full windup with 2 outs. He's going to get out of it. The play for Hillenbrand, and that'll end the inning. So Morris keeps it close. It's still a 4-run lead for the Cardinals as we have played 4 on this Saturday. Comparison of the game brought to you by Esurance. Get some relief from high auto insurance prices. Quote and compare instantly at esurance.com.
About that, 1.47 ERA as we have the batter's eye maintenance supervisor. If there's such a position, hard at work in center field on that ladder.
Manual labor.
And you notice how he's doing that safely. He has people helping him with that ladder. For those of you trying this at home, ladder safety is what it's all about.
It's Bob Bresnan here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Bob, take a bow. No, just get down off the ladder first.
She's saying, look, you guys don't know how to do this. I'll do it.
Cardinals Care winter warm-up will be coming up in January when it's just a little cooler around these parts. That's January 13th, 14th, and 15th. It'll be at the Millennium Hotel. Don't miss the fun with autographs, memorabilia, and more. Every dollar helps kids in the community. Call 1-800-325-7353 for packages with the hotel room and 2 admission passes. Winter warm-up is a special time of year.
Oh, it's always a great time. The Cardinals do a phenomenal job, Tim Honzer and his crew, of bringing in former players, current players, very well supported throughout the entire Cardinal family. And we know that the fans just show up in droves because it's a long winter without Cardinal baseball, and that's kind of the kickoff for the season before spring training starts about a month after that.
That is absolutely one of the best things about Cardinal baseball. That winter warm-up, the first time I ever went to it, I didn't know what to expect. Huge. And the fans are great. There's a nasty curveball. Alfonso behind in the count 0-2. It's getting a little tougher on the old hitter.
Well, I think the toughest part was when it was closer. It's still pretty tough, though, because you're losing it halfway there.
To the left of Miles. And the throw is right on the money. That's 9 in a row retired now by Chris Carpenter, bidding for his 15th win of the year. The kid from New Hampshire. And today, not only is he battling Matt Morris, but he's going for career win number 100 here today, Chris Carpenter. The loser of this game, by the way, the pitching matchup, buys dinner tonight.
That seems fair.
I don't even think they have to use plastic to pay for it.
I don't think so either. So if Carpenter's able to get win number 100, I think that would be the third Cardinal pitcher of the year to get his 100th victory. Jeff Suppan did that earlier, and Mark Mulder.
You are correct.
Their fortunes went in divergent directions after winning their 100th game. For Mark Mulder, it didn't get any better for him with the shoulder surgery, which I heard him say in the paper today that he may be out for a significant part of next season with the kind of surgery that he had. But Jeff Suppan has turned it on of late.
And that one's going to get down, and it's going to be an extra base hit for Matt Morris. So at the moment, he has bragging rights in the hitting department against Carpenter, but still trailing in the game 4-0. Cardinals trivia brought to you by Schnucks, where shopping is easy. Got to take a deep breath out there. All that just for this question. What was the Cardinals record last year on this date? '94 and 55. They're 78 and 68 this season with a 5.5 game lead. They're on their way to 100 victories last year. Right on the money, beating Cincinnati in that final game. Finley is 0 for 2.
I think 90 would be a nice round number for this year. Have to win 12 out of their last 16 to do that.
I'll tell you where I've been impressed with the Cardinals is how they have played in this ballpark, especially over the last 18 games. They're 14 and 4. They have dominated here in the last month and a half.
All the more reason you want to finish strong collectively, so when you go into the playoffs, you're playing more games here. You want that home field advantage. You always want that, especially in the playoffs. And Tony's going to keep pushing them.
The Giants have 3 hits in this game. Cardinals have 5, but the Cardinals scored 4 first-inning runs. RBI single by Albert Pujols, in case you missed it. 3-run home run by Juan Encarnacion. All in the first inning against Matt Morris. That was his 19th home run of the year. Playing center field here today. Didn't get a concrete answer from Jim Edmonds about a particular day when he'll be back, but he certainly hinted that it would be next week sometime. There's a great off-speed pitch to get Finley for the second time, and that's strikeout number 6 for Carpenter.
Here's the last pitch from Carpenter. Good off-speed pitch, late break through the shadows. He's nasty right now.
A strike to Vizquel. Vizquel with a double just inside the line down the left field side past the drawn-in Scott Rowland. Now he pulls this one, and I'm telling you, he's hooking this one just foul.
Well, Carpenter's 14-6 on the season. We're playing for some things as a team here and as a Cardinal nation to get into the playoffs. But Chris Carpenter trying to repeat as a Cy Young Award winner. If he continues on his 4-day rest pace, he would be due to start the last game of the season on October 1st. Now, I'm not sure you want him to do that, to start that game before going into the playoffs. But the question remains, what if that game's important for home field advantage? Do you start him that game?
That sunshine getting a little closer to the hitter and the shadow in between. Unusual start. A little after 3 o'clock here locally. Start of today's game.
So that would mean if Carpenter's held out for the playoffs that he only has 2 more starts left after this one.
I think it's going to be important. Three balls and 2 strikes with Hillenbrand due up next. And the Cardinals haven't had to deal with that at all, have they, Rick? Haven't had to deal with those last weekend games meaning anything.
No.
He got him with a strikeout. He leaves another runner in scoring position. Steve Finley didn't miss that badly over the course of his career, but did today.
Hi.
So, from Donora, Pennsylvania, Stan the Man Musier. Hope you're watching today, Stan. We wish you well. Four runs on 5 hits for the Cardinals. No runs on 3 hits for the Giants.
Chosen a 5th inning interactive question, and question today comes from Joseph from Chesterfield, who wants to know, when a former pitcher like Matt Morris pitches against his old teammates, who has the advantage? The batter, who knows what the pitcher's going to throw, or the pitcher who knows the weakness of the hitter? Not that Albert Pujols has a weakness, but I think the pitcher has a little bit of an advantage. Doesn't last very long. And the reason is, a pitcher sees a guy hit. He sees the holes in his zone over a course of a year. Sees how guys get people out. But the hitter actually has to see the pitcher live before it makes any difference for him. I think experience is much more important for the hitter. The pitcher can know the weakness, try to exploit it. But I think the pitcher has that short-term advantage. Thanks for that question, Joseph. Our first bank 5th inning interactive question of the day.
2 mean curveballs to start this at bat. And then Pujols lines this one, and that's going to get down, and he has his 3rd hit of the game. All singles. And Matt Morris starting to say to himself, you know what? I used to really appreciate that guy hitting for me. Now I know how tough it is to get him out.
Yeah, like I said, the hitter has the advantage when facing his former teammate. That's 3 hits in a row for Albert. He doesn't need to watch Matt Morris on film. It doesn't really make any difference. If he's locked in, he just gets hits after hit after hit. Albert with that picture-perfect swing, not a lot of lower body movement. Got a lot of torque in that lower body, but he doesn't get off balance at all in that swing.
Spezio, first ball swinging, a fly ball for Alou, and there's 1 out. First year of a 3-year deal for Matt Morris as a member of the Giants. Facing Scott Rowland for the 3rd time. It says 2 groundouts there, and it looks like he hasn't done much.
Bad day.
Bad day. He could easily be 2 for 2. 2 very good defensive plays. One in particular by Vizquel, the shortstop. The other by Felice, the 3rd baseman, denying him. And now Matt Morris has balked. Tony Randazzo, the first base umpire, called it. So Pujols is in scoring position. They called that a balk. It was just that little, almost like a twitch, like when you're falling asleep and you're not really wanting to.
I hate that.
Oh. A strike. Pujols probably called it.
Albert's next career is a first base umpire. He was quicker than Randazzo was.
He did call it before the umpire.
Well, if Albert wants to hang around the game and be an umpire for a few years when his career is over, somehow I doubt it. He has all the tools.
Rolling the opposite way. That's going to get down. It's a fair ball. And in to score will be Albert Pujols, and Rolen checks in with an RBI double, his 8th run driven in the last 36 hours. And Rick,
a little bit of
10
justice
to go to 100.
And a little bit of justice for Scott Rolen, who was robbed of 2 hits earlier, and this one just blooped down the right field line. Takes the ball the other way, waits on it, lets it get close to him in the zone, and ends up with an RBI. And 100 RBIs would be a pretty nice season.
And a 5-0 lead for Carpenter, looking better and better. Our home run deal of the day brought to you by Casino Queen. First inning.
He hit some low-lining home runs, doesn't he?
A searing line drive.
Think about the one he hit in Chicago in a game we were doing there, where he actually knocked a fan out, hit a fan in the chest, and he was literally knocked out, and they had to attend to him because Encarnacion hits that low liner kind of like a golf shot. Again, not the prettiest swing in all the land.
Pins out of the way of that curveball. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. We used to call that the old proverbial 2-iron shot. Now it's a hybrid, especially when you hit it.
Yeah, baby.
Cardinals have outscored the Giants 19-4 so far in this series.
Now the shadows are a little more interesting because you've got where the pitcher releases the ball, it goes from light to dark to light to dark again. So you lose it twice. Really interesting. The pitcher out here is actually delivering that ball in the light, comes into the dark. Now it gets light again, and then you lose it. I'm glad I'm not hitting right now.
Out on strikes is Encarnacion. And that's just the 2nd strikeout for Matt Morris. He'll get a lot with that pitch, Rick.
There's the old knee buckler. And those knees did buckle. The feet started moving. And he was just hoping that the umpire would make a bad call.
Up to the plate is Ronnie Belliard. Cardinals have scored a run. They lead it 5-0 here in the 5th. Our thoughts and prayers certainly with 7-day-old Abby Woods. The Amber Alert still very much on. We need all of your help. That taking place yesterday here in the St. Louis area. Abby Woods, keep her in your thoughts and prayers and keep your eyes open. 0-2. And he registers 2 strikeouts in quick fashion. Cardinals did score a run on the rolling RBI, and it's 5-0. Redbirds in favor today. Part of the order for the San Francisco Giants: Shea Hillenbrand, Barry Bonds, and Ray Durham against Carpenter. He still has plenty on those pitches. Great movement. Hillenbrand has grounded out twice. Brandon Webb won again last night. Still on his heels.
15.
15. This may be a dogfight. In fact, that was a 16. He went in with 15. Brandon Webb winning last night. Brad Penny has won 16 as well. ERA nowhere near Webb's or Carpenter's. That was unfair. And that is 3 strikeouts in a row for Carpenter and his 8th of the game. Here's Hardy's hot pitch.
Another Hardy's hot pitch from Chris Carpenter. How many of those has he given us? That pitch just waved at by Hillenbrand. That's a cut fastball, which turns into a little short slider. I think his cut fastball is more like a slider. It's so sharp and it breaks downward a little bit, but that's just unhittable in these conditions.
Now this is a bigger shift now with Bonds up there than we saw earlier in the game in his 2 previous at bats. Look at the shortstop Miles where he's playing. Scott Rowland feels like the Lone Ranger over there on the left side of the infield. Now let me ask you this. You're pitching a game and you saw the defensive alignment earlier. Why would they be even more pronounced now in the 3rd at bat?
Well, I don't know. I just think it worked earlier. That's number one. To have the second baseman Belliard playing short right, and they've just moved him over a tad, moved him back a little bit even. I think there are times maybe the situation of the game might dictate that.
Encarnacion is there. Those are 2 hard-hit balls. Not many today against Chris Carpenter. Lou had a vicious liner to the second baseman, and now Bonds a line drive into center that got there in a hurry.
I would almost said the opposite, though, thinking about the situation there. Is the Giants need base runners. If you're talking about a guy coming up, you need a home run, you know he's going to be trying to pull the ball, maybe the shift gets more pronounced. Now, it may be more pronounced because there's no base runners. You can add that to the equation. But I think it almost seems as if the situation dictates where a base runner is critical for the other team, that maybe you played a little bit more straight.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that because Miles really had played much farther over on the first base side as the shortstop. And that really caught my attention.
Well, I don't always understand why when you do a shift like that, you put the infielder right behind the pitcher anyway. The pitcher's supposed to catch some of those. So why not be more over to the right side?
1 ball and 2 strikes. Durham twice a strikeout victim. 8 strikeouts, a couple of walks for Carpenter in this game, leading 5-0. Popped up, shallow right, and Pujols says I'll take it, and does. Another 1-2-3 inning for Chris Carpenter, and as we go to the bottom of the 6th, it's 5-0 Cardinals. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning, and it's hammer time for Molina, but that one just fouled. He hit that ball on the money. Cardinals leading 5-0 over Los Gigantes. Los Gigantes, the Giants who have been in San Francisco since 1958, been to a couple of World Series, but have not won a World Series in the city of San Francisco. Pop up in the middle of the diamond. Vizquel, as usual, will take care of it. What in the world was that? He isn't wearing sunglasses. The sun has bothered him on 2 pop-ups, and then does that catch.
Hard to complain about the sun if you're not going to wear sunglasses. He does have the eye black. He actually just swipes at the ball. Sun right in his eyes at that point. Almost wasn't even looking at the ball when he caught it. That's how good he is.
He's real good. 10 Gold Gloves. That guy's pretty good too.
Well, if he's able to beat Morris is buying dinner. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Well, I think Carpenter's going to have to buy dessert because he gave up a hit to Matt Morris, don't you think?
I think so.
That's worth something. Dessert, a bottle of wine, maybe.
And he's gone 0 for 3 against Matt today.
I guarantee you that will be what they talk about. There's no question about it.
By the way, Chris, did you see my double?
That's right.
Did you see me running?
Yeah, you're not that good.
Here's a guy who's had a special day against that man, Matt Morris. That's the shortstop today, Aaron Miles, with a pair of triples. Jeff Weaver against Jonathan Sanchez tomorrow. He is a rookie for the Giants who has won 3 games without any losses. And the Cardinals will go on a road trip. They'll go to Milwaukee and then Houston. Anthony Reyes will take the hill on Monday night. And Marquis and Suppan. Pretty good curveball there, 1-2. In the air to right center. That's a long run for Alou. He never looked comfortable on the venture to get to that ball, but he makes the catch and the inning is over. We go to the 7th, 5-0 Cardinals. Chris Carpenter always waiting as if he's impatient because he's the first one out, throwing his warm-up tosses, and he is more than ready to go as he's trying to nail down his 15th win and number 100 of his career, which really gives me an idea. When he grew up in New Hampshire, obviously a Red Sox fan and a Roger Clemens fan, sure gives you an idea. Here today he's going for his 100th win, and Roger Clemens well in excess of 300. Gives you an idea just how good the Rocket was and is still.
The other tie between these two is we mentioned that Carpenter has 3 home shutouts this year, 3 home shutouts last year. No pitcher has done that in back-to-back years since Roger Clemens did it in '87 and '88.
Wow.
And that's 3 shutouts at home in back-to-back seasons.
And think about Clemens doing that at Fenway. That's a hitter's ballpark in my estimation, not a pitcher's ballpark. And I think Carpenter loves this ballpark. Now, would you say this is a fair ballpark, or does it go one way or the other?
Oh, it's a fair park. Ouch. That's not fair. Guy's got good stuff when you hit a line drive off your knee. I think he needs more than a shin guard here. I think he needs a knee guard. Boom. A little higher on the leg. Moises has had his share of injuries. Had a pretty good career. A long way from when I met him as a bat boy for our team in the Dominican Republic 23 years ago.
But you probably even knew then he had the talent.
He was a good kid, hard worker. His dad, Felipe, was our manager. Jesus was the first base coach, and Matty was the third base coach.
Jesus over there in that coaching box, still
moving around.
His neck.
Yep.
I still think he's responsible for kids going to college and saying, I want to be a chiropractor.
Yeah. I'm going to go fix Jesus Alou.
If you ever saw Jesus Alou step up to the plate, you'd see him do that neck, and it was unbelievable every single time. Good play by Roland, reaching down to his left and throws out Moises.
Jesus used to say, I am the best of the Alou brothers. I just didn't get it done because I didn't sleep very much at night. Could figure out what that means. I don't know if he was the best of the Alou brothers, but he's certainly one of the funniest men I've ever been around in the game of baseball. Jesus Alou.
Felipe
a little more stoic.
More power.
He's a little more stoic kind of personality, very serious, very kind man, Felipe. I really appreciate him, like him. I think his players like him.
Been here since 2002.
There's the Alou brothers playing together. Matty in the middle, DJ Alou on the left, and Felipe on the right. So he's seen his brothers play, got to play himself, and got to manage his son in the big leagues.
Well, in the major leagues, Felipe hit 286 and had over 200 home runs. Matty won a batting title back in the 60s. I think 66, somewhere around there.
I believe he had the first home run at the old Busch Stadium,
he
too,
did.
if I'm not mistaken. I've been mistaken before, but not this time.
I think you're correct on that one. Backhanded by Miles. How about utilizing that arm to get Felice? And there are 2 outs. Methodical today for Carpenter. He had 2 runners aboard with 2 outs in the first inning and struck out Durham. The first 2 men reached safely in the second, and he promptly got 2 strikeouts in that frame. Had a 1-2-3 third, a 1-2-3 fourth. Gave up a 1-out double to Matt Morris, then struck out the next 2. A 1-2-3 sixth, and the first 2 men here in the 7th. He's leading 5-0. Scoreboard brought to you by American Furniture and Electronics, St. Louis's headquarters for HD TV.
Really like Chris Carpenter's conditioning. You know, you don't just show up and have that kind of conditioning. There's a lot of hard work between starts and in the off season to make it happen. But he's the kind of guy that still goes strong in the 8th and 9th inning of ball games. I think he could probably throw more than what most pitchers are allowed to throw now, 115 or so pitches. He could probably throw 130 if he needed to.
That one winged Molina. Red Sox beat the Yankees 5-2. That's your only final from the American League at the moment. You saw that the Phillies won, beating Houston 7-2, and the Cubs are leading 3-0 over Cincinnati in the 7th. That one got away from him.
.103 pitches for Carpenter, partly because he has 8 strikeouts, taking him a little deeper into counts.
2-2 pitch. Got him swinging. 9 strikeouts for Chris Carpenter, and he has a shutout through 7. And this is what we've seen a lot this afternoon.
Well, Chris Carpenter picks up another strikeout to end the 7th inning, and he throws a curveball early in the count that he doesn't come through on. And Yadier Molina gives him a little bit of advice, telling him keep that shoulder in this time, and we're going to come back to it. He shakes to that curveball, and this one is nasty.
Call to the bullpen brought to you by U.S. Cellular. We connect with you. Kevin Correa coming on. A guy who is just 26 years of age. He hails from San Diego. Good size, 6'3", and 202 pounds. Well, he will face Duncan, Pujols, and Spezio here. Matt Morris done for the day. 6 innings, 5 earned runs on 7 hits, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, one of which was intentional. Hit a man and balked today, and trails 5-0 upon his departure.
Probably had a very emotional day as well, and probably one of my favorite moments of the ball game so far. And there have been some good moments. Was the great ovation that Matt Morris received when he came to the plate in the 2nd inning.
And it was lengthy.
It sure was. The impact that Chris Duncan has had on this ball club. Where would the Cardinals be without Chris Duncan? The answer probably is 2nd place, maybe 3rd place. He has been such an impact on this team, filling a void, left-handed power void. He has tied Ken Boyer and Joe Medwick for rookie home runs by a Cardinal at 18. Next on the list, Johnny Mize, who had 19 as a rookie. And there's only 2 ahead of that. Ray Jablonski had 21, and Albert Pujols probably not going to catch him. He had 37 as a rookie. But Duncan has a very good chance of being 2nd on that list all time for home runs for a Cardinal slugger.
It was a good year for a surprise like a Chris Duncan, who was not the first guy called up by the Cardinals this year when they were looking for outfield help.
I'm not sure he was in the top 3 when you were thinking about who's going to impact this team this year that's now starting out in AAA. John Gall would have come to mind first, but Skip Schumacher probably 2nd, who actually started with the ball club.
If I'm not mistaken, the first call-up from the outfield was Timo Perez.
And you got Timo Perez, who they got in the middle of the season. You also think about Junior Spivey. You expected him to come up and make a difference. You expected maybe even Brian Daubach to be the guy. But Chris Duncan has been the answer.
He has struck out for the second time. And before Albert Pujols steps up to the plate, let's pause for station identification of this Saturday. This is KPLR TV, KPLR DT, St. Louis. Albert 3 for 3 today, has scored twice and driven in a run.
And hasn't even hit a ball hard yet.
And his hits all singles. That young lady loves Albert Pujols. He was nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. That would mean a lot to him.
Albert's had a great day so far. 3 hits. First one a ground ball between short and third. That produced a run. Then he had a little bloop flare to center field. And then he had a base hit to left center. Got jammed on that one. Pretty rude treatment for his old buddy Matt Morris.
Morris made some good pitches on him, but still couldn't get him out. Staying alive at 0-2. Roland has an RBI double. Pujols, the aforementioned RBI single. 3-run home run in the first inning by Juan Encarnacion. 5-0 Cardinals. And a drive deep into left center field. Back, and up against the wall. Pujols hit that one hard and has a 4 for 4 day. The trajectory just a bit too low to go out of the ballpark.
Albert's batting average is climbing. He's getting up there among the top 2 or 3 in the league now. He has an outside chance of catching Freddie Sanchez as he picks up his 4th hit of the afternoon. Who cares about the shadows? He can hit anywhere. He can hit in the dark.
Sir Albert doesn't care. He had worse conditions growing up in the Dominican Republic. And most of the time didn't have a baseball or a bat.
You actually do take batting practice in the semi-dark when you play a night game in the Dominican Republic, and you're actually shagging balls. The outfield lights, they don't turn them on until game time. They want to save money. Obviously, it's a poor country. Albert, of course, didn't play there. He really grew up in the United States. But think about the conditions that a lot of the players who grow up in countries like the Dominican Republic, they come here, and I think it's part of the reason they perform so well. They've learned to play under really difficult circumstances.
Well, Lou takes care of that one. And Spezio retired for the second time today on a fly ball to right. Law firm of Hyas & Callan reminder that this copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals LLC may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals LLC. Hyas & Callan, attorneys who go to bat for you. Now, the reality is this is about the time that the Cardinals have their batting practice for a game that's regularly scheduled at 7:10 or 7:15. But this isn't Albert Pujols' time. He usually bats about a half hour from now, closer to 5:30. Trying to score another run. He would have to take a 2-out hit from Roland to do it. That's over the head of Alou, traveling, and one hops up and over into the bullpen for a ground rule double. Pujols does score for the 3rd time today, and Roland has another RBI to add to the total at 6-0 Cardinals.
Pitchers know right away when they've made a bad pitch and something bad's gonna happen. Swing of Scott Rowland, and the reaction of the pitcher as, oops, I shouldn't have thrown it there. Hanging breaking ball from Korea. And Scott Rowlands hit the ball very well. Could easily be 4 for 4 as well. Just like Albert.
He was robbed on 2 very good plays in the infield by the Giants shortstop and the Giants third baseman. Encarnacion with the big blast of the day. The 3-run home run, his 19th of the year, back in inning number 1. So he is closing in on 80 RBIs. He's at 78 and counting.
Albert's average climbed to 327. We mentioned the National League leaders. Miguel Cabrera now atop the National League at 342. Freddie Sanchez at 340. Great year for him. Matt Holliday is third at 333. So Albert's got an outside chance of catching at least a couple of those, folks. Finishing in the top 3.
Won a batting title in 2003 on the last day of the season. He's been in a tight race before. That was the tightest race in National League history. Got underneath that one and popped it up for Mr. Durham, the second baseman. He will make the catch. But the story so far today has been that of Chris Carpenter. But in the series, that man has 9 ribbies. Chris Carpenter ready to work the top of the 8th inning. Meanwhile, Adam Wainwright is warming up at the bullpen in back of him. And Steve Klein starts to loosen up in the bullpen for San Francisco, the former Cardinal. Some Cardinal fans. Pujols and Carpenter jerseys. Todd Linden is going to come up as a pinch hitter for the Giants here in the top of the 8th inning. Cardinals leading 6-0 on a 3-hitter spun so far by Chris Carpenter. Number 9 spot in the top of the order.
Number of pitches for Carpenter. This is probably his last inning, no matter what happens. I'd like to see him go the distance, get a shutout, but unless he has a 5-pitch inning, I think he's done. And he's going to have a hard time having a 5-pitch inning right now.
2 balls and no strikes to the pinch hitter. The Giants had 2 runners aboard in each of the first 2 innings. Couldn't cash in. They've had 1 base runner since, and that was Matt Morris with a double in the right center field back in the 5th. A strike to make it 3-1. Still had plenty on that one. Sinking out of sight.
One thing we really haven't seen a lot of is the players that the Cardinals have brought up from the minor leagues, and I think we might not, depending upon how long this race goes and how important that record is, even for the division leaders, the National League West team and the Cardinals. Cardinals want to beat them, so we may not see those guys play.
And Encarnacion doesn't see the ball, and racing to get it is Schumacher, who just came in the game, and it's going to be a gift triple for Todd Linden, as that ball went right up in the air, and Encarnacion never saw the ball. And Schumacher, who just flat out sprinted after that baseball, saved it inside the park home run. Never saw the ball.
Ball hitting right center. Look at the hustle of Schumacher. He tries to go all the way and catch that ball in center field. Appreciate the hustle of Skip Schumacher. Very little communication going on there between outfielders, infielders. He was yelling, "I can't see it," but never got an answer that made any sense to him, and just stood there.
From the moment it was hit, he never moved. Now Finley with a chance to break up the shutout. 6-0, Cardinals leading. Finley's gone 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. $45,445, the paid crowd here today. And there is a soft line drive, and that's going to break up the shutout. As in to score is Linden, courtesy of that gift triple.
Well, it's hard to know whether you call that a defensive lapse or just plain didn't see the ball, as you know, Encarnacion kind of acted pretty leisurely even about the result there, but the reality is that a fielder has got to be responsible for picking up the baseball. That's part of being a defensive player, knowing where the sun is. And how about this applause for Chris Carpenter?
It's 6-1 in favor of the Cardinals. We'll let the crowd take you to the break.
In banking, vigor does
got the best of that duel between he and Matt Morris.
And the call to the bullpen is brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Take advantage of savings in Granite City, Columbia, Illinois, Creve Coeur, and Waterloo. Omar Vizquel, the batter, with a runner at first, a run in, 6-1, Cardinals leading. Nobody out. We're in the top of the 8th inning. Pretty good numbers for Mr. Wainwright. ERA just a shade under 3.
You know, we thought that Adam Wainwright had the kind of the inside track on the closer position. Found himself in the game on the road. We wondered why. Found out it was because his wife Jenny was giving birth to their first child, a daughter. Everybody's doing fine. But now in this game, he finds himself again in the game not in the closer's role.
They appealed to Joe West, and he didn't see a strike, so it's 3-0 now. Wainwright working on Vizquel with the power coming up.
So you wonder whether Tony is going to use Looper more in that role, or whether or not he's really not going to worry about it being a defined role. Whoever is ready to pitch, it's your day.
Jason Isringhausen did throw off a mound yesterday. They're looking at him today and how he responds, and tomorrow. And we'll get a pretty good indication, I think, tomorrow, as you see Tyler Johnson warming up, the southpaw, whether Isringhausen can be used or not the remainder of the year. That hip really a problem. So is that walk. Runners at first and second, and Shea Hillenbrand coming out. He's 0 for 3. Wainwright could really use a double play right now. Giants have left 5 men on the bases. The Cardinals have left 6. One strike count.
Tyler Johnson is readying in the bullpen for Bonds and Durham, back-to-back left-handed hitters, which tells me that Wainwright won't be in this game very long. Hillenbrand may be his last hitter.
Foul ball past the third base coach. That is Gene Glynn. One of the absolute best guys in this world we know as baseball. Longtime third base coach in the National League. Almost got him to go after it. Wainwright has a lot of fans, but I don't know if he has a bigger fan than Todd Worrell. Really likes his moxie and his stuff.
He does.
Former closer. Right into the ground.
Good guy to have on your side, Todd Worrell. He knows a little bit about closing. And speaking of that, the Cardinals are going to honor Bruce Sutter here tomorrow. Cardinals have had a rich tradition here of having good closers. Izzy had some great years, has had some great years here as a Cardinal. This year has not been one of his best. He would be the first one to say that, but can't forget how good he's been over the past few years. Cardinals have had Lee Smith here, and Quisenberry, and Eckersley, Al Rabonsky, Joe Horner. Just some great names, and Todd Worrell is one of the best. One of the hardest throwing of all those guys.
Came up in the 1985 season.
Talk about not wanting to use rookies in the playoffs in the World Series. Whitey didn't have a problem using him, did he?
Not at all. Here could be two. Rolling. Belliard to Pujols. And that double play makes it 2 outs in the frame. 5-4-3. I think in this situation, do you let him go after Barry Bonds, or do you go to the left-hander? Well, he's going to go to the left-hander.
I don't know what you would do, but I know what Tony's going to do.
Oh, yes. You know what? There are a couple of options here, and he's going to go with what he's gone with the entire time he's been a manager. He's gone with his gut. He's going to the southpaw. Tyler Johnson saying thank you very much. I'll take on number 25. So we'll have that confrontation when we come back.
We revisit the picks of the day. The 3 picks. The quick workers were number 1. Both these starters worked fast. The game just a little over 2 hours so far, despite the 7 runs. Duncan and Morris. Well, Matt Morris had the advantage there. Duncan 0 for 3 against the former Cardinal. Who closes? That's still yet to be determined, as Adam Wainwright's already been in this game, and Tyler Johnson is now in it. He's our call to the bullpen, brought to you by U.S. Cellular.
And Braden Looper is warming up in the bullpen. So a great opportunity for Tyler Johnson. It didn't matter if it was Wainwright or Johnson. The opportunity is here to see what you have against Barry Bonds. Johnson's going to have many a confrontation just like this, not against a Barry Bonds, but against the best left-handers that the opposition has to offer down the stretch and perhaps in postseason play. Two and nothing. Bonds 0 for 2. Hard hit ball to the shallow right fielder, the second baseman Belliard, his second time up after he had walked in that initial plate appearance, and then line one into center field where it was caught by Encarnacion. Three and one.
Pretty nasty breaker right there from Tyler Johnson. That's his pitch.
And a fly ball into left field. So Taguchi coming near the line, and he has it. So Tyler Johnson wins that one against Barry Bonds. We go to the bottom of the 8th. The Cardinals on top 6-1. Braden Looper on to pitch it. He's been a little bit of the vulture, as they call him. That was Phil Regan, or Reagan, as the case may be. Some people said Regan, some said Reagan, but he was the vulture with that Dodger ball club many years ago, picking up win after win out of the bullpen. But Looper's done a nice job.
We can't really say he's the closer. This is not a save situation. The Cardinals with a 5-run lead, as that young fan is happy today. Smacked that a couple of times with the finger I bought. Actually, Dad probably bought it, and I'll smack it with it. But we can say that Looper at least is the 9th inning pitcher today. Whether he's the closer or not, he's certainly the guy working the 9th inning, which could be an indicator. He's kind of got that personality. He's not afraid. He's not timorous, which is our Suppan word of the day. I never heard that word before. I never heard that. Jeff Suppan told me to use it. To be a short guy, to be a reliever that pitches in the 9th inning, you have to be without fear, because there's nobody behind you.
That was a high-righted fastball there. As quickly, a 2-strike count on Ray Durham. He has struck out twice and popped up. One of the things that should be said today about Matt Morris, who went 6 innings, is that he has never had a losing record in his major league career. But he is on the hook in this one. Cardinals could put it away with Braden Looper on the mound. He'll be 10-14. A 4-run first inning. Some damage today. Here's a leaping catch by the shortstop, and there's one out here in the 9th. We call him post extraordinaire, Rich Gould. He'll be manning the position for the postgame show. Here's an update. Thank you, Rich. And Moises Alou coming up here, 0 for 2 and a walk. He's going after the first pitch. A ball that was hit in the air in the top of the 8th inning by pinch hitter Todd Linden, who remained in the game and played left field, was never seen by Juan Encarnacion. And sprinting to the ball all the way from right was Skip Schumacher, who had just come in the game and was heads up and held him to a triple. And then Steve Finley would get a base hit to right. That would break up the shutout bid for Chris Carpenter, who threw 114 pitches today. But Schumacher, a great deal of hustle. Adam Wainwright came in and walked a man, but induced a double play. There's a bouncy ball, tough play, do or die for Rowland. He won that battle. And there are 2 outs here in the 9th inning. And then Tyler Johnson came in to face Barry Bonds, and he got him on a fly ball to left.
It's a 2-hopper to Rowland, and he backhands that ball. It is a do-or-die play at that point. He either makes it or it goes into left field for an error. Scott Rowland has great hands at third base. And very deserving of those gold gloves sitting on his mantle.
Cardinals zeroing in on their 2nd win in a row against the Giants, and a pop-up off the bat of Pedro Feliz should do it. The sure-handed one. Rowland has it. And for Chris Carpenter today, he has career win number 100. And he beat perhaps his best friend in baseball, Matt Morris, to do it. Today's player of the game is brought to you by Budweiser. This is the first inning. And Juan Encarnacion gave them a big lead early.
We may have missed that fly ball in the sun, but he had the big hit of the game. That 3-run home run was really all Chris Carpenter needed.
Cardinals get the win. Handshakes abound. 6-1 your final score. The Cardinals over San Francisco.